Welcome to Mom and Mind, a podcast about maternal mental health, discussing conception, pregnancy, birth, and postpartum. Real stories from moms and family members who have made it from struggling to wellness, and interviews with experts and advocates who work for moms and families to get the help they need. This podcast is meant to offer information and awareness and is not a replacement for treatment by a professional or professional training. Hey everybody, welcome back to Mom and Mind. I'm your host, Dr. Kat. In this episode, we are chatting with Coretta Rae Daniel. She is a resident of Cleveland, Ohio, a wife, a full-time mom of 16-month-old Charles Jr. and 4-month-old Zaria. She holds a license in social work and will be pursuing her master's in clinical mental health this fall. With the birth of her son, she suffered and overcame postpartum depression and then discovered her passion to help other minority women in her community to find the support that she had longed for. She developed To Be Nurtured in April 2016, and that is a growing organization that seeks to build partnerships with others who desire to raise awareness of maternal mental health issues among the underserved and underrepresented populations. She believes that motherhood should not be done alone. In this episode, she's going to share a bit about her personal experience and things that she went through as a new mother and the things that impacted her and maybe contributed to her postpartum depression. And then she's also going to talk about what she sees in her community and things that she's really passionate about fixing and helping with. And I hope you guys can hear all the passion and compassion that she has. It's sort of infectious. She has a really amazing drive to get resources and support to the moms who really need it. I'm excited to know Coretta and know about her passion and compassion, and excited for you guys to hear from her. So let's meet Coretta. Hi, Coretta. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me. I am so grateful, so grateful.
Well, I'm so happy that, social media and the internet is an amazing place because that's where I technically met you. Yeah. And you were very gracious to agree to come on and talk a little bit about your story and the work that you're doing. And so I'm happy for everyone to hear about all of that. So I guess you can start with wherever you're comfortable. Tell us your story.
Well, I gave birth to my son in February 2016. He was born via C-section at one of our big name hospitals here in Cleveland, Ohio. And I already had my fears and my uncertainties about becoming a mom because he was unplanned, but we loved him all the same, my husband and I. And, my birthing experience wasn't that pleasant. My postpartum recovery at the hospital wasn't all of that pleasant. And I'm sure we'll maybe get more into that later in the interview. But when I got home, it was pretty blissful. I felt excited. I still didn't feel super connected to my son. It wasn't oh, I'm so in love.
Right.
And I think that was just not really hitting me yet, because the same thing happened with my second child. It just takes me a while. Yeah. My husband always says you're so late with stuff. And I am. I'm the last one to laugh in the crowd.
Okay.
But, my husband worked 2 jobs. He worked from about 6 a.m. to about 3:30 in the afternoon, Monday through Friday. And then Monday through Saturday, he worked a part-time evening job. So sometimes he wouldn't get home until about 10, 11 o'clock at night. Wow. So for the most part, and we don't have a big family. We don't have a lot of siblings. I'm an only child. He has 2 brothers. So, the guys aren't really as interested in doing none of the nurture and stuff. And then there's our mom. Both of us don't have our dads around. And they both work full-time. They work full-time. And our grandparents work full-time. So just to kind of paint that picture that for the most part, it was me. It was me and baby. All day, just about 24/7. And I was exclusively breastfeeding. So in the middle of the night, it was me getting up, And then with my husband working so much, I felt guilty about saying, hey, can you get him this time, because he had to be up so early in the morning. So I would say the first 2 weeks were fine. The little guy was even kind of on the sleeping schedule, He slept most of the night and he woke up every 2 hours to feed. And during the day, he was content for the most part. But around the time when he started becoming more alert, like around 3-4 weeks, he got colicky, and just between that and just never having any respite from any of it, I think that's when postpartum depression started to set in.
Yeah.
It went from just baby blues, crying from frustration, to, I mean, I would feel like literally scared to be alone when my husband would get up to get ready for work the next day.
Yeah.
It was almost like I felt like my chest caving in, my throat tightening, feeling like I was going to throw up, my breathing increased. Like, I'm just sitting here with my eyes closed, like remembering the physical reactions. And, you know, I don't know. I remember just him crying for hours straight. And at the time, I didn't have much education on foods that could make him gassy from me breastfeeding, you know?
Right.
I didn't know to pay attention to any of that stuff. And I think one day I was so tired, I drank a Red Bull. And, you know, that stuff is packed with caffeine.
Right.
And he had a reaction to it. Didn't realize that that's what it was until afterwards. But he cried for 7 hours straight one day.
Oh, my gosh.
Because he was hyped up off of caffeine. You know, he was having a horrible reaction to the caffeine. And
so both of you are like experiencing this, like you're so tired and you're just trying to cope and get through.
I'm just trying to cope and get through. Don't know when my husband's coming home, and he was a truck driver, so it's not like he was 15 minutes away and he can get to me at any moment. It was like he would be 2 hours away in Columbus somewhere, and I would have to wait for him to get back in Cleveland. So, I mean, it was like there was nothing that he could do, like, even if I wanted him to, you know. And I just remember, like, the scariest thoughts. You know, when you get ready to leave the hospital, they say to you, if you feel like hurting yourself or your child, give us a call. And it's so surface. It's so, like, you know, it's not really, you know, hey, you know, people go through this, other people go through this, other people experience these feelings. And if you feel this way, they don't put a name on it. They don't say postpartum depression. They just say, if you're feeling, and it's like, come on, as if those are the only things that are associated with postpartum depression. And it's not. That's like the worst of it, right? It's so many other things that come before that. The anxiety attacks. I remember, I feel so bad now, but I remember running red light because I just didn't want to stop the car. Because when you stop the car, the baby cries. We know that, right? Like, you drive, the light, as long as the lights are green, everything's fine.
Right.
But as soon as the lights would turn red, I mean, I would run the red lights because I just could not deal with the crying. I would hear it even when he wasn't crying. It was just, it haunted me. I just remember, like, envisioning myself doing very harmful things to my baby, doing very harmful things to myself, and I would literally have to go into a bathroom and just let him cry in his room for a minute so that I could separate myself from him. So he didn't get hurt. And, you know, and I'm telling my husband and stuff, and he's like, I remember one day he just took off of work because he was like, I am not leaving you with a kid by yourself, you know? But even in that moment, it was to protect him and not me. So even if that triggered me even more because I'm like, who cares about me? You know, like, I felt so alone. But then I started talking about it to people, like people that I was close to, that I could trust. I just became very vulnerable.
Can I ask how long that went on before you started talking to people?
I would say maybe a couple of weeks because it just got too scary. It was like, hey, I'm already here by myself. I have to say something, you know? And, you know, when they say that phrase, like, nap, when the baby naps, it was like I wanted to, but my thoughts were literally race. I could not silence my mind. It was like no rest. Like, there was no rest. Like, the anxiety was horrible, you know? So I just started opening up to friends, and when I did that, they were like, oh, yeah, I felt that way before. It's like, what? You felt that way before? You know, I mean, I felt less judged, and I felt like I could be more open, but then at the same time, I was like, you didn't tell me this part. Like, I remember when you had your baby. You didn't say anything about this, you know? And it was like, they were like, well, I didn't know what it was at the time until you told me, you know? Because I started doing, I'm a researcher. I'm like the person that's, you know, if I'm riding past a restaurant I never saw it before, I'm Googling it. Like, hold on, what is this restaurant? You know? So when I want to know more information, my husband calls me his human Google. Like, if I want to know something, I will look it up, you know. So
Yeah.
I research what is going on with me. What is, because, you know, they just say baby blues, and it's way
Right.
more than baby blues. It's so much more than that.
It
So,
is.
I mean, you know,
So you could tell that something wasn't right.
yeah,
And you weren't feeling right. But obviously, if you don't know what it is, you don't know what it is.
exactly.
Yeah.
So I started doing my research, and lo and behold, I saw like this, you know, how they have memes floating all around, like
Mm-hmm.
social media now and stuff, and it was postpartum depression, and it described every single thing that I have been feeling, like
Wow.
inability to cope, you know, extreme sadness, intense sadness, anxiety, racing thoughts, loss of appetite or overeating, and that idea. Like, I ate my way through postpartum depression. I
Yeah.
gained
Yeah.
so much weight. Everybody's like, you're
Mm-hmm.
gonna lose so much weight from breastfeeding. No,
No. Yeah.
you know. So that didn't happen to me. Just everything, it described everything. I felt so understood in that moment. I was like,
Wow.
I am not by myself. But then part
Right.
of me still felt by myself, because as I looked on YouTube, there were only like white women who
Mm-hmm.
were open about it. I maybe found like
Mm-hmm.
one or two videos of, you know, so then, even then, part of me felt like, oh, well, maybe it's just them that go through this. Like, and then I felt
Mm-hmm.
weaker, so to speak.
Oh
You know
my
what I mean? Because I
gosh.
felt like
Yes.
nobody identified with me. It was just like, okay. But the more that I talking to those around me, other moms, really helped.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I told them stuff and they were like, yeah, me too, I was like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
wow. Okay, so that made me feel good. It made me feel like I'm not crazy. I'm not. And
Right.
then my husband kind of looked at me like I was crazy the first few weeks, because he's like,
Mm-hmm.
is it that serious? You know, but we don't talk about mental health issues, first of all. You know what I
Right.
mean? In his
Yeah.
family, he's not used to hearing about it. I
Mm-hmm.
have some family members who suffer from schizophrenia, bipolar disorder. So I'm used to hearing about mental health issues, but he wasn't. So for him, it was
Right.
like, he had to learn empathy. He had to learn that this was a
Mm.
real thing, and it wasn't just
Right.
me not being able to deal with
Right.
something. You know, I remember he even told me
Yeah.
once, like, you're just weak, and that
Oh.
hurts so bad. And I forgive him obviously now, because I had to realize that talking about what he doesn't know. When you don't know
Right.
something,
Right.
you create your own perspective. So
Right. That's so true. And, I hear that so often from the moms that I meet with too, is that, like, if the family members don't know about it, they just think it's like some weakness that the person
yeah,
who's suffering has. But it's really like hard to try and figure out how you're feeling and then have to explain it to somebody else when you don't even have the words for it.
exactly.
Wow. So you went through, how long do you think you were experiencing all of this before you started to either get help or feel better?
I would say probably, luckily for me, and I only say luckily because I know women who've gone through it for like their child's first whole year of life or longer. But
Mm-hmm.
for me, it lasted probably about 6 to 8 weeks before I started feeling better.
Okay. And how do you think you did start to feel better? Was it primarily from hearing that you weren't alone, or?
I think it was a combination of my counseling that I received from my mentor. She's also like a spiritual advisor. And I think for me, what was huge was self awareness and just
Mm,
being educated on what exactly was happening with me. I
right.
think I'm more triggered by things when I don't understand them. You know,
Sure.
it makes it 10 times worse. If I don't understand what's going on, everything is, you know, it gets inflamed pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And then after that, like while I was in the process of getting better, I was like, I have to do something about this. So I became very indignant and diligent about figuring out how I could help other people to make sure they did not feel alone in the way
Oh,
that I felt alone. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
I had a dialogue with God, and I was like, something has to come out of this. And then I woke up one morning and was like, okay, I have something to do. There's something that I have to do,
Mm.
you know. And for me, that's my place of empowerment. That's where healing always begins for me, is when I'm
Oh,
helping
wow.
other people.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. I love that empowering others is part of your healing. That's just amazing.
Mhm. Yeah.
So what does that look like? What was that thing that you woke up and decided to do?
It has transformed so much over time. The more that I learn what is actually available out there and what isn't available, I'm like, oh, okay, it's changing now. Now I'm going to do this. But still in the same, like, I know I definitely need to bring awareness to my community. I live in a suburb of Cleveland as of right now, but I was born and raised in Cleveland, Ohio. In our county, Cuyahoga County, we're number one for infant mortality in the state. And probably like, I think, I don't want to be wrong about this, but I think it's like number 3 in the nation for infant mortality. Yes.
Wow.
For per 1,000 live births, our county has 15 deaths of black babies before
Oh,
their first birthday. And I
oh
think the
gosh.
national average is about 5,
Oh my gosh. That's
5 or 6.
heartbreaking.
Yeah, and so we are losing our black babies at 3 times the rate of our white counterparts also here in Cuyahoga County. I mean, there's a crisis on our babies, period, altogether, but it just speaks to the disparity in our maternal healthcare system. It really does. And so, with that being said, there are so many risk factors to why that's happening: premature births, the use of drugs and alcohol. But me, I want to figure out what are the risk factors of the risk factors. What makes a woman choose to use drugs? You know, what's happening why she can't carry her baby to term? And there are so many things to explain that. You know, disparities in healthcare, disparities in the education that we receive, disparities in employment, so which causes stress, which causes premature birth. You know, so it's huge right now. And for me, I think that that's my piece. My piece is the postpartum part
Yeah.
regarding the support that we receive after we have our children, and including postpartum depression, postpartum anxiety, mood disorders, and all of that stuff. There's not a lot of people talking about that here. It's not a lot. The more that I look, I'm like, people are like, what is that? Or it's like, oh yeah, I think I had that. Well, what did you do if you think you had that? You know what I mean? So that's all. It goes as far as a thought, and then that's it. We're not taking this seriously, and already in the black community, we don't take mental health care serious enough. I've even watched people from my own culture use a mental health issue as a reason to, you know, get public assistance, and it's just not taken serious enough until we just had a tragedy here where a gentleman, sorry, it's like making me emotional talking about it. A gentleman, he killed a older gentleman on Facebook Live, and he was a mental health professional.
What?
Yeah, it's so sad, and I know so many people connected to this situation, so I just have them in mind right now. But and one of the things that he said in his video before he killed the gentleman on Facebook Live was he was talking on the phone to a family member, and he said, "I tried to get help. I tried to let y'all know that I had a problem, and no one listened."
Oh God.
So one of the things that was floating all around Facebook from my community, people were saying, when are we going to take mental health seriously? We don't. We don't. You know, I never thought that I would be the mom who would understand the mother who could put her child in the microwave. You know, you see stories like that in the news, and you're like, oh my God, you're such a horrible person. I would never do that. But after fighting with postpartum depression, I understand that mom now. I have a
Right.
strong sense of compassion on that mom who drowned her children in the bathtub, who lost her battle
Right.
mentally with whatever it was that she was going through.
Right.
And there's always some sort of story where she's like, I tried to tell people I needed help, or there was like these text messages that went out of a girlfriend who was like, you know, I'm feeling crazy, and she ended up smothering her 1-year-old child, you know, and people just said, oh, you just need to get it together. You're all right. You're fine. You know, you just want
Right.
attention or something like that.
No,
And it's
no,
like,
no.
you have to take these cries for help seriously,
Right.
because I have a voice. I know how to communicate my needs and desires. I know how to say, hey, listen to me. I'm dead serious. I need help.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
some people just, they don't know how. And partially they don't understand it, but they don't know how to make it known that they
Right.
are serious, like reaching out
Right.
and not knowing what's going to happen to them. I mean, we face so much, you know? Like,
Yeah. So, I mean, you're talking about stigma, you're talking
exactly.
about not being able to potentially trust healthcare providers or trust the
Exactly.
system on some level. And when you do reach out for help, what's going to happen? That's taking a
Exactly.
risk sometimes.
Yeah, I just saw an article in the news where a mom, she dropped her children off at a police station. And she said, I feel like I'm going to kill one of them. And they
Right.
arrested her. They
Right.
arrested her and then they sent her back home the next day and released her children into her care. Now, of course, we're only getting the stuff that we see in the article. But my question
Sure.
is, where's her help? What else did they
Yeah.
do? You
Right,
know?
exactly. I think you raised such a necessary and important point and just like you were saying before, what are the risk factors of the risk factors? It's not just about why do people do this. It's about what led them to be in the
Mm-hmm.
situation to do that. And
Exactly.
so the help that you're looking to provide, it sounds like to prevent those sorts of things or to at least help and support moms and
Exactly.
families in your area.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Well, I mean, with those statistics that you were saying before, the mortality, you're really trying to understand how that's happening and what you can do about it.
Well, the thing is, it led me to look up who's already doing something, number one. So the state has given a significant amount of funding to distribute to people who want to start programs or initiatives to address some of these issues with infant mortality. Another one of the risk factors is poor sleep practices. So, for instance, right now we have like these baby boxes that
Mm-hmm.
are going out to moms so that they can have somewhere safe for their children to sleep. So initially, the point that I'm trying to make as far as bringing up that issue is that there is a crisis in our community and a disparity in regards to not receiving the proper maternal support
Right.
in prenatal or in postpartum,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that's an issue. Now, also, what I found is there's not really anyone addressing the mental health part of that in our community specifically. Of course, we have support groups, but they aren't targeted to our community, to African Americans, to minorities. I would even go as far as to say, I mean, my son, his pediatrician, when I did go to his 4 month checkup, I decided to be, I guess, as you would say, I don't know, just kind of put myself out there and sacrifice myself, so to speak. I let her know that I felt like I was suffering from postpartum depression, even though at that point I had been, I would say, pretty much for the most part healed. But I wanted to see what the process looked like. And I
You're
wouldn't
an
recommend,
investigator.
I was investigating, but I wouldn't recommend this to anyone. Just don't do it, you know. But I went and she was a white doctor, and we were at a hospital center that was in a majority white community in the suburb of Cleveland. And I told her, and her response to me was, well, it seems like you might need medication. That was it. That
That
was
was
the
it?
extent of our conversation. She didn't ask me, do I have any resources? Is there anyone that, what am I feeling? There was
Yeah.
nothing else, but
Right.
you might want to see a therapist because you might need medication.
Mm-hmm.
That was it. And our appointment was over.
Wow.
Mind
Right.
you, she's the one who's supposed to, which I don't understand this. I don't understand why the pediatricians are the ones doing the screening for the postpartum. I think that's another thing that needs to be addressed. So also my desire is to, I don't know, even maybe provide some training for our medical professionals, some cultural awareness, some cultural sensitivity training.
Please do.
Yeah, yeah,
Please
because
do.
I don't even know what that looks like, Dr. Cat. I just
Yeah.
know that it's needed. A lot of
Oh,
the
sure.
the thing
Yes.
about me, a lot of my drive is passionate based right now, but trust me, I am hitting the pavement. I am looking for
Yeah.
answers, you
Oh,
know.
yeah. I fully believe you. I love your passion. It's
It's
inspiring.
yeah, because when I was taking a chance telling this medical professional that I feel like At least to me, I did, because I didn't know what that was going to look like.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, because
Right.
the question was asked, have you ever felt like hurting yourself or your baby? And I put yes. And that was her response.
That was it?
That was it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we have a lot of work to do, and
Yeah, we
it
do.
takes it takes all of us, and it takes people like you who have your feet on the ground and like in your neighborhood, literally, and can see where all the holes are. And I love that you just kind of like investigated that just to see what would happen. But I
Yeah.
mean, it highlights the need, and it highlights just those providers generally aren't trained, essentially, and they don't get the information. And because they don't know where, oftentimes, because they don't know where to send people if there is a problem, sometimes they don't even ask.
Yeah. And then the thing, too, I mean, I could already sense with a lot of the people that I encounter as far as medical professionals. I mean, because this doctor, and I'm not even holding it against her. I hold it against the place where she hired, honestly. You know, when you have people out here working with such a sensitive population or people from different backgrounds, you have to make sure that you are educating them on things, because she never even looked me in the eye when we were at appointments, you know. And I'm not going to go as far as to call her racist, because I know me. I've been a service professional and at a social service agency, and just had felt uncomfortable from the beginning with a certain group of people that I was working with. You know, like, it's just barriers. And when you feel that there are already barriers, walls go up. And it may be unintentional, you know, but we have to figure out a way to bring those walls down, crashing down, because people are suffering because of it. People are being hurt unintentionally at times because we have these walls that are so unnecessary. And it's just because we aren't educating ourselves. We aren't taking the proper time to do our research, or to just open up and be honest. Hey, I never worked with a black family before. What's the best way that you think that I can help you? A person like me really appreciates that honesty. You know what I mean?
Right. So in the work that you're doing, you developed To Be Nurtured.
Yes.
And that organization is looking to do some of this work, is to like get the training out there.
That's my desire. You know, I let you know that I plan on going back to school to get my master's in clinical mental health counseling. To be a therapist, I would like to provide therapy for women in my community who have some of these perinatal mood disorders. And also, my desire is to bring this awareness. And whoever, I know Postpartum Support International, they are doing great work to try to reach some, and then the Perinatal Mental Health Alliance for Women of Color, they're doing great work at trying to reach some of these underserved and underrepresented populations. So one thing I don't want to do is reinvent a wheel. So if I can just put Cleveland's name in their face, say, hey, how can we get what you do here? You know, even if I have to be the representative for that, I will. You know what I mean?
I know you will. I can hear it. I love it.
I just want to be able to say, I don't want a woman to not know what she's going through. Because another thing is, too, women of color, I think, because most times black women especially, I have to speak for, only because that's what I am. I'm black, and I know more about some of the trenches that we see and what we face, especially in the inner city of Cleveland. We're already oppressed. So a lot of the times, what we're dealing with after we have a child, it goes mass. I wouldn't think postpartum depression right off the bat, you know? I'm thinking, oh, just, you know, I'm stressed like every other day. I'm frustrated like every other day. This isn't the first time I felt like hurting myself because life got so overwhelming. So what do you do for that person? You know what I mean? So yes, To Be Nurtured, right now we have a private support group online for moms, and it's for any mom. We're not just closed off to, you know, it's not like blacks only. No, it's not like that. We just literally, for any mom who is just seeking a place where she can be vulnerable, honest, and open, that mothering is not easy. Being a mom, whether you're single, married, whether you have a slew of support or no support at all, being a mom is not, those transitions from infancy to toddlerhood, that's a transition. From toddlerhood to elementary schooler, that's a transition to adolescent to teenager. We want every mom to feel like she is not alone, you know. So we have that Facebook group where we just post funny stuff or we post video. Oftentimes it's me getting on there like, oh, y'all, today was hard, okay?
Right.
I need to play
But
for escape.
that's real.
Yeah. So we do like mom nights out. Like one time we just went bowling because sometimes you just need to step away, you
Yeah.
know? So we
Yeah.
went bowling. We have a mom and me paint night coming up in
Nice.
July. Yeah. So we are going to be painting with our little ones at a local park. So just a way, because I don't know if you've ever heard of MOPS, Mothers
Yeah.
of Preschoolers. Yeah.
Mhm.
So I went to a MOPS meeting while I was going through postpartum depression just to try to connect with other moms and stuff like
Mhm.
that. But even there, and I loved every person that I met. They were so awesome. Still am friends with one or two of the women, but
Yeah.
I was one of the only Black women in the room. So that's another thing. We don't connect on a community level.
Mm.
And that's a huge problem too. I believe that's a risk factor of postpartum depression, that isolation. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like you just need sometimes, and like I said before, my healing process started when I just started talking to people, when I started
Mhm.
hanging around other people who knew where I was coming from. You know?
Yeah, and you have 2 kids, right?
Yes, I
And
do. My
and
baby.
2 babies, and you did not experience postpartum depression with the second one,
No, I
correct?
did not. I didn't.
So, what do you think the difference was for you? Was it having support? What happened? It made that experience easier.
One, having support. Two, being educated
Mm.
on the risk factors of postpartum depression and just knowing what it was. Like I said, awareness is huge for me.
Right.
And then I honestly believe I changed doctors, I changed hospitals, and I took control of my birthing experience. I did. I educated myself, because I had a C-section with my first one, and I would go as far as to say that C-section I was forced into it, and the more research that I did, it was not medically necessary.
Ugh.
The care that I received in the hospital was very traumatic for me.
So sorry.
Yeah, I could cry just thinking about it. I think too, a lot of my postpartum depression, I believe it was, now that I know more, I believe it was coupled with a little PTSD.
Mm-hmm.
Because even now, like I could just drop tears thinking about my birthing experience with my
Right.
son. But the second time I said no, I knew that I could say no to some things. I
Good for you.
knew about a birth plan. There's an awesome organization. The executive director is now a mentor of mine. Her name is Kristen Farmer, and I have to give credit to her. She's going to listen to this podcast. I know she is. And
Hi,
she's
Kristen.
she's the executive director and founder of, I could cry thinking about her, of Birthing Beautiful Community. She developed a awesome organization with a community. She trains African American doulas and sends them out to some of these at-risk communities to provide doula support for women of color. For Black
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
amazing. They have done about 70 something births. Kristen, don't beat me up if I got this wrong. And they have 100% success rate with the women who have been through their organization.
Oh my
They have
gosh.
not lost a child. And they work with some of these communities, because I didn't tell you this, but like there are some neighborhoods within the city of Cleveland who have an even higher infant mortality rate of like 21 to 29 deaths per 1,000 births of Black babies before their first birthday. So she's working with some of those communities, and she is at the center of it, and I just love her. And she was my doula with my second daughter, and I am so grateful for her and the work that she does, because she empowered me, she encouraged me, she educated me on what I could, because a lot of the times we don't know what we could say no to when we walk into these hospitals, and these doctors tell us stuff as if it's a fact and not an option.
Right. Yes.
And I learned that I had options. I almost said a curse word, but
Me too.
I learned that I had options. You will not cut me open. You will not tell me that I have to get a C-section because I had one with my previous child. It's not true. I have women who have had repeat C-section after repeat C-section because they were told that they had to.
Right.
And the only reason that I had one the first time was because I stopped dilating after 6 centimeters. Well, yeah, you had me on my back the entire time. You didn't let me walk around when I asked you to.
Right.
You know, so awesome work. And I gave birth to my Zaria. I love her so much. I gave birth to her naturally, vaginally. I did get an epidural. But I'm just excited about that because, and I had the doctors tell me, I didn't think you were going to be able to do it.
Wow. So with you, your energy, your passion, your story, your experience, your drive, I can just hear it and feel it, how much passion you have for this. And I'm so excited that, we need you.
Yes.
You are needed. And I'm really, really happy to have your voice in this world. It's necessary.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So for everybody who's listening and wants to connect with Coretta, I'm going to put all of your information for people to connect with you on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter in the show notes. And I'll also include the information for, you said Kristen?
Yes.
I'll include her information too so people can look up that as well. And yeah, I'm excited to see where you go because this is, I think, just the beginning.
Thank you so much. I am so grateful. I'm so, so grateful. Thank you so much, Dr. Kat.
You're welcome. Thanks for being on with us and sharing your story.
Thank you.
Once again, I want to thank Coretta for telling us about her personal story and bringing all of her compassion and supporting maternal mental health in her area of Ohio. And if you guys want to connect with her, she's on Facebook at Coretta Rae Daniel, on Instagram at coretta.r.daniel, and Twitter, Coretta R. Daniel. If you guys want to connect with her and follow up, please find her there. And if you'd like to connect with me and join our Mom and Mind Connection Facebook group, please do that. And in that forum, we talk about episodes and we can take the conversations that we've started here on the podcast a little bit further in the Facebook group. And certainly if you're looking for resources, it's also a great place to come. And we'd love to have you. So until next time, take care, guys. Thank you for joining us today. If you or someone you know is having a hard time, help is available. Please look for resources for help at momandmind.com. Also, please subscribe and share this podcast. Together, we can support moms and families so that no one has to deal with this alone. Thank you for being a part of the Mom and Mind community.